So obviously, you know, it's a great pleasure and honor for me to be able to be here and to be interviewing Khen Rinpoche. And obviously, you know, without you, I wouldn't have met him. So this is going to be like very informal chat. This video is probably never going to be shown as a video, so it's just a chat to get some information.
Sorry. How are you? Nice to see you again. Welcome back.
Before you guys know, I need him to come bless me over there.
Of course. Of course. Sorry.
That's okay, no problem. We're videotaping, but that's okay. We videotape your blessing too.
That was a great moment.
That was really cool.
Yeah, probably meant to be, Nate.
So, does Ken get many requests? Khen Rinpoche getting many requests to be blessed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people ask. He was invited to. I guess it's best not to mention the name of the church, but he was invited to a church to speak last week. And when he was leaving, I said, you know, what are you going to do? He said, I don't know. They want me to talk, so I'm going to talk. And then when he came back many hours later, he said there was hundreds and hundreds of people that they asked him to bless. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. So can you make an official introduction for us?
An official introduction?
Yes.
This is my friend, Khen Rinpoche.
Who is living now in India, but is a Tibetan monk.
Yes, who is the head of the Tashi Lumpo Monastery in southern India, appointed by the Dalai Lama.
Right, and I know that we had a chance to meet this past week, thanks to my friend Max and you, and there's a very special cause that he's going around the world to speak about right now, and I was hoping that you might have you and tell us what that is.
Yeah, well, it's the coin has both sides. He is the head of the Tashi Lumpo Monastery, and he has been appointed by the. Hey guys, we're videoing.
Sorry, that's okay. He's been appointed by.
He has been appointed by the Dalai Lama to basically rebuild, reconstruct the Tashi Lumpo Monastery, which is arguably, the most important monastery in the world in terms of Tibetan Buddhism, and it was the great wish of the Dalai Lama to have that temple, and it's kind of an orphanage, a temple, and a monastery to house these exiled Tibetans and to preserve the Tibetan culture and to preserve Tibetan and teach Tibetan Buddhism, which is something that unfortunately is being lost. It's being diluted, and it's a shame because it's the most beautiful.
So is it true, Khen Rinpoche, that you said that before that there were something like 5,000 monks, but now there are only 300?
Yeah.
Why is that so?
Because monks are not able to come out from Tibet in 1959. So some reason, I don't know why. So then other monasteries like Jepun, Sera, Gandan, their monks are left from Tibet in 1959 with using the Dalai Lama. They got in India, immediately they get together, they continue their teaching study there. But the Tashi Lumpo monks not able to get out from Tibet. So we started in 1970s, by the support of His Dalai Lama and exile government in India, the Tibetan government in exile in India. So they started maybe 16 months. Now, through this journey, we are now getting over 300 monks.
300 monks.
Yeah.
And
So
they're
it's building.
right. So can you sort of give me a little bit of the version so that our listeners can understand exactly what was just said? So there were 5,000 in 1959.
Yeah, and then obviously, the occupation of Tibet happened
By the Chinese.
Yeah, they weren't able. It's not like the Chinese came in and said, as if if Mexico showed up here and said, "Oh, this is no longer the United States. This was originally Mexico, so now it's Mexico again." and then we would go and call our families and get on a plane or whatever. These were people that have no possessions. They have no means.
Right.
So it was like, you know, when
Right.
he escaped and went back to a dock, it took 2.5 months. They have to walk
Right.
over the mountains,
Right.
and it's incredibly dangerous, and people can die.
Right.
And so many of them.
Now,
couldn't-
Ladakh is in the southern part of India, correct?
Yes.
So that's quite a trek.
Northern part of India.
I'm
The
sorry.
northern part of India. Okay, so it's still a trek.
Yeah.
It's quite a distance.
Well, it's huge, and
Yeah.
it's over the Himalayas, which is incredibly
Right.
dangerous for
Right.
anyone, but
Right.
especially for people without, you know.
Right. So I understand that there are a portion of the monks that are living in a community and they have no water.
Yes.
They have difficulty getting and acquiring water.
Well, that is the monastery. Then there is a school,
Okay.
which is a school that he started, which is in Ladakh. So the school is in Ladakh. The new temple is in southern India.
Okay.
The new temple is being constructed because for the last 5 years,
3 years.
for the last 3 years, he's been going around tirelessly and raising funds and raising
Around
funds.
the
And that's-
world?
Yeah, and mainly around the country here.
Okay.
Yeah, United States.
Okay.
And that's where that's how we met up, and that's what I've been working on with him.
Right.
And it's gone great, right? Everything's going very well.
What's the website? Can you tell me what the website is?
the website for the school is?
Siddhartha School.
Yeah, but there's a website to donate for the water project. I forget exactly.
Yeah,
You have
we'll
it, yeah.
Get that for you.
Let's do
Sorry.
that.
We can give
That's okay, no problem. We're not in a hurry. We can get that. So,
So part of, you know, there's the Dalai Lama's plan, and then there's his own personal plan. What the Dalai Lama wanted was Khen Rinpoche to be the
that's not it. Here it
head
is. Yeah, I'm listening.
of the Tashi Rinpo Monastery,
Mm-hmm.
which he has done. But prior to that, he had a very small and humble school that he started 25 years ago.
20 years.
20 years ago to educate people and to help preserve the Tibetan culture.
Okay.
So that's his passion. That school does not have running water, and they now have kids that are orphans and they don't even have a place to live, and some of them come and they stay at the school without running water.
Right. So that's Siddhartha School org. I'm going to put that right there for my. Ooh, can I see it? No. Okay. SiddharthaSchool.org.
Yes.
www.siddharthaschool.org. Okay. So I know what that is now. Okay. And so
Yeah.
this.
So what we're trying to do is I mean, there's a lot of things that the school needs, but I think first and foremost, the school needs water.
Sure.
Yeah, they've
Okay.
got to have fresh water.
Okay, fantastic. And so these tirelessly going around the United States, working on getting money and donations for
both.
the school
For the school and for the monastery.
and for the monastery.
Yeah.
Where's the other monastery? Because I wanted to make sure that we had this all very clear. Now this
Yes.
is for the monastery.
That's the monastery.
Okay.
And it looks like the funding is almost complete
Wow.
for the monastery. Which
Fantastic.
is, well,
You need the inside,
Yeah.
decoration.
So this is the www.honorpanchanlama.org.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Tell us a little bit more about that.
the Panchen Lama is the next he's like the Dalai
future?
Lama, the future
Right.
Dalai Lama, and
Not the Dalai Lama and Panchen Lama. The two very high leaders in Tibet. And it's called Israel Dalai Lama. He's in mostly now lives in Lhasa and three monasteries are Gandan, Sera, Jepun, and Panchen Lama is the second high leader in Tibet. He lives in Jikatse in Tashilumbu. He runs the Tashilumbu monastery. So those two we call in Tibetan like in the sky, moon in the sun, and on the earth, Dalai Lama and Panchen Lama.
And where is he now?
He is the reincarnation. He passed in, and the 10th Panchen Lama passed in 1980s. Then the 11th Panchen Lama recognized by Dalai Lama. After 5 days later, then the Chinese took away. So now we do not know where he's in. Now this year he's in the 24-year-old old.
He's in captivity.
He's in
He
captivity.
was taken by the Chinese, put in captivity, and they then
They choose their
they
own.
choose their own one.
When did they do that?
1980.
Until the 80s.
So how old would he be now?
Now he's 24.
24.
Yeah. So the 24, 19 years old. Not
Yeah,
years,
19 years ago. So that nobody knows where he is.
No.
Wow. Okay, and you pray for that
Yeah.
and meditate on that,
Yeah.
and you know he's coming again.
Yes, we are not.
You're certain.
Eventually, but now we are hoping in personal life he will able to come to visit the monastery
Yes.
or maybe get free from Chinese occupation. Maybe that's
Yes. Yes, of course.
That's important for not only the Shannin monastery.
Yes.
It's important for the Tibetan people and even in the world.
So in your talks the other evening, it was very touching to me and to many in the room when you were speaking about love and not hate and don't hate your enemies, and even the Tibetan people or the Tibetan monks don't hate the Chinese for
Yeah.
what they did. How do you do that? I mean, for normal people, it's so difficult to understand.
Yeah, one way it's difficult is if you really think carefully, question yourself, you're getting angry with your enemy, is really able to solve your problem or not. But it causes more problem yourself than not instead solving the problem. So you just feel them, they are under the control of either ignorance, anger, pride. So they are, those enemies really suffering more than yourself. Therefore, then you feel this is the one of our mother beings who are suffering. So instead getting anger, try to express your compassion for them. So try to help. If you cannot help, then we say just say prayer for Buddha also. Bless them to change their mind.
Bless them to change their mind.
Yeah.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah, similar to turn the other cheek in
Yeah.
Christianity, but really they see the enemy as what once was their mother. And
Yeah.
you have to love everybody.
Yeah.
And I told you the story about how when I'm driving and someone cuts me off,
So what am I supposed to do about
I
that?
want to flip out on them. And he said,
Love
love
them.
them like it's your mother.
Yeah.
Very challenging.
The other evening, you spoke about attachment. Can you tell us more about your thinking and your thought about attachment and how it may not be good for us?
I was thinking that's what I was talking about attachment. I was just thinking like a glue. No?
Glue.
When you get the glue, it stuck. You cannot get out. No?
Yeah.
The attachment keep us keep us in the samsara because the psychic existence in the world within under the control of the the desire. So that desire is your attachment. You have to give up, then you don't get problems. The desire, you have attachment, then you created your friends. Then those who disagree or some cause problem, though, your friend, then we label and the other one our enemy. And those who are is not causing, not helping, then we label as a stranger or works there. Just stranger things. So that way we created enemy, friends, strangers. Then we are really under the control. Then what we are suffering ourselves under the control of ignorance, attachment, anger. To our friend we have the attachment that causes suffering. To our enemy we have the anger that causes also problem. To our stranger beings we have the ignorance, not able to see them, the true nature of them, that also causes. So therefore, just really you want to live in the world with peace or love, then you just stay away from the attachment, anger, ignorance.
Yeah. Did you want to share your story that you shared with me and how this has all changed your life since the moment that you met Khen Rinpoche?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think first of all, it's important to say for anybody who's suffering or for anybody who's going through some tough times, if you would have told me 10 years ago that I was going to be sitting here doing this, I mean, I would have laughed in your face because I was homeless. And when I say homeless, I don't mean sleeping on someone's sofa or sleeping in a hotel. I mean homeless without shelter. I was addicted to heroin and cocaine and
Did anything to get it?
did anything to get it. Lived on the streets, suffered the high cost of low living, and I was in hell. And so, to go from there to sitting here, I mean, even as I say this to you, it almost seems unbelievable. I tried to write it all down and put it into a book or whatever, and I thought no one's ever going to believe this anyway. So
Well, they will, and you should. You absolutely should.
Well,
So I know that you went into rehab for about 18 months. It took you about that long to really get your stable legs under you.
Well, rehab, primary care,
Right.
and then residential care, and then staying with people who were clean and sober,
Right.
and going to 12-step programs and meetings and stuff like that.
And then a few years later, you meet Khen Rinpoche.
Yeah, not too many years later. I think maybe 3.5 years later we met.
And what changed? What happened? What did you change, and what did you do differently?
Everything changed. Everything. There was a moment. I went to. It was supposed to be a fundraiser, but it turned into a marketing event. Unfortunately, it was a bunch of people that owned rehabs and owned different recovery centers. They were all invited up to this beautiful property called Peace Park. Fred Siegel owns it. It's about 300 acres up here, and he was speaking there. And all of these people showed up. And it's cold outside, and the sound system was a little bit off, but everybody came there with the intention of marketing themselves. So here's all these people handing out brochures and handing out business cards, and although I was in that business, I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified because here's this holy man. I mean, and who I don't know anything about Buddhism, and I don't know anything about I don't know a whole lot about anything, but I knew that this man was saying something incredibly profound. And I was at the edge of my seat, and I was freezing, but I was trying to hang on to every word that he was saying. And he was telling this incredible story about how it was an army of lambs, but the army of lambs were led by a lion, and the army of lambs had to go against an army of lions. And so here's this army of lambs, and they have to go against this army of lions. And it was really bad, but the army of lambs was led by one lion, and the army of lions, these fierce lions, was unfortunately led by one lamb. And so, they went into battle, and the lambs won, which I just was freaking out, and I was so amazed by this story. And then he started talking about compassion for your mother, which has been a challenging
Thing for you.
my whole life.
Yeah.
It still is.
Right.
And he told this story about having compassion for your mother, and how everyone at one time has been your mother, and all beings at one time for reincarnation. And I got so swept up in this story. And then he finished with something he said the other night, which was, and by the way, don't try to run out and cover the world with leather.
Right.
Instead, make yourself a good pair of shoes.
Yeah.
And I was just amazed.
That was
I
profound.
ran up and I said, "My God, I want to know him. I wanted to
One
just,
more.
touch a piece of his robe
We
or
want
something.
more. We want
and-
more.
And what can I do?" And they were because that event really did not go well. I mean, they really didn't raise any money at that event. They asked me if I knew of anybody that had a big house, and if we could host an event for them. And again, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. But I called Cindy Landon, who you met the other night.
Right.
And she was like, "Don't worry about it. I'll invite the right people, and I'll make it happen." And she also was incredibly generous herself. And so we developed this friendship around that. He met Mrs. Landon, and we all just kind of came together.
So did you adopt the teachings and you started? You didn't do any practicing of the chanting
Well, no,
or any of that?
here's the funny thing. When I finally got him alone, because I was waiting for that one moment where there's not going to be, 150 people there, I said to him, tell me more about the lion and the lamb story. And he said, I don't understand. And I said, you told a story about a lion and a lamb.
What's the lion and the lamb story?
He never told one.
He never told it?
No, I misunderstood the whole thing. So he laughed for 20 minutes, and I'm crying, and he's laughing. And
what's the lion and the lamb? There was no lion and the lamb.
the sound system was really bad, and I thought that I heard...
What was the story?
There wasn't. He was talking about...
What was the story about?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't hear him.
It doesn't even matter.
I couldn't understand what he was saying. So... Anyway, and then things moved very quickly, and then all of a sudden, Robert Thurman was coming into town, and Robert Thurman, I didn't know any better, so I asked people, and they said, oh, that's the Thurman's dad, and he's the first Tibetan Buddhist, or first Tibetan Lama, or whatever, or monk. So then I had to go pick up Robert Thurman at the airport to go meet him, and Mr. Thurman gets in the car and he says, how long have you been practicing? And I said, I haven't.
Wow.
And he lost it. He starts laughing. So it's just, no, the whole thing is really based around friendship and laughter and love and appreciation for one another. I mean, trust me, he has offered many, many times to teach me different techniques and teach me different, I'm good at some things. I'm not that bright at other things.
Well, you're running 2 successful businesses right now. They're just like off the chart successful. You're madly in love with a new fabulous lady. I mean, life has been so completely different for you after this meeting.
Yeah.
And so
he definitely changed my life. I mean, my whole perspective switched. And by the way, one of the first things I did when I started to make money about maybe 6 to 8 months after that initial fundraiser that I hosted, which was very, very successful, and again, not because of me, but because of Mrs. Landon, I started making a bunch of money, and I really thought, I lucked out, I'm not going to make money ever again, so I went back to Ohio, and I bought my mom a house.
Wow.
I put the down payment down, and moved her into this house, kind of against her will, but I was like, I'm gonna love her. I'm gonna force her, to let me love her. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But it's so in opening up my heart to my mom. Then all of a sudden, my dad, who I had a very strained relationship, was like, what are you doing? And you cannot buy a house, and you don't know what you're doing. And I'm like, I'm not asking.
Right.
That's my mom, and she lives in the Kenwood Gardens, which is equivalent to a housing project.
Right,
here.
right.
And I had to get her out of there. She's this little old Polish woman.
Which is so completely different than the teachings because they are without any possessions really at all.
Yeah.
And so I'm not even really sure how the magic happens, but it does no matter where they go in the world. There's always abundance, and they're always taken care of, and they just. I know you were telling me that Khen Rinpoche, he just practices and meditates basically all day long.
Seems like nonstop.
Nonstop.
I mean, it's almost unbearable at times. But I mean, when he comes and he stays for, he'll come and stay for weeks, and sometimes 5 o'clock in the morning you can hear him going.
Yeah.
Then 7 and then 9, and then comes out for a tea, and then goes right back in and goes until noon or 1 or 2. Comes here and we have a little refreshment, and then goes right back. And sometimes it's praying, sometimes it's singing, sometimes there's these paper things that he does where he
Well, maybe Khen Rinpoche could explain what it is. What are the basic practices that make a monk a monk? Echo.
A lama.
A lama. Sorry, a lama.
Yeah.
There you are. So. It's Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it's Om Mani Padme Hum, it's all together, or it's something special?
Something else.
Something else? Yeah. It's special just for the monks and the lamas, or is it for everybody?
Individual have their own practice. So, in general speaking, take the refuge to the Buddha Dharma Sangha. Buddha Dharma Sangha means Buddha the teacher, Dharma teaching, Sangha spiritual community. those are in Tibetan Buddhism who not believe. No? So then the main motivation why you taking refuge to the spiritual, the Buddha Dharma Sangha, the main concern I want to reach enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Therefore, I need your assistance. Whether could you become my teachers? Then Dharma is requesting, could you become my actual path how to get enlightenment? Then the Sangha, the spiritual community, requesting, could you become my assistant how to follow the path which is taught by Buddha? And then the main purpose to work for the benefit of others. And then you have many others, prayers in relation to your favorite teacher, deities, Buddha, and with this sort of meaning. So the main concern that we try to change, our every day, watching your own mind, try to change the negative mind into positive, And positive mind, we call the best positive mind, we call the bodhicitta. Bodhicitta means the altruistic mind. It's the best and purest mind. That mind we try to, through, in the beginning, through imagination, try to get up. And maybe slowly becomes that purer. Maybe then sometime maybe you can get the pure bodhicitta. This is the real word. The bodhicitta is the real root of the Mahayana Tibetan Buddhism. It's like one Lama wrote that the bodhicitta become like a seed, to help all other beings. And the second is meddling. The bodhicitta like the fertilizing mutual water and manure to grow, let grow the bodhicitta, for all sentient beings. Then eventually the bodhicitta become like a fruit. When you get ripened fruit, what to serve others. So the Buddha, when you reach enlightenment, that open for you to work for the benefit of other people. That's what you do.
Really, it's kind of like an Olympic athlete. It's kind of like, Michael Phelps, but of the mind. Of the purification of, like you see that thing on Michael Phelps where he trains like 8 hours a day. He trains 8 hours a day, but it's not for the purpose of winning anything. It's for the purpose of helping us, which is, I can't wrap my head around that. And although I don't understand any of the teachings or any of the techniques, I sure do feel that. When you have a man, in your presence like that,
Right.
It changes your life. There's a woman that's coming here in a half hour, 45 minutes, who, she's got her own thing. She's big into a whole other spiritual movement, and she just kind of came to be polite. Well, they talked afterwards, and he kind of, did this, and they were talking, and now she's freaking out, calling me up, going, I've had this ailment forever, and the pain is leaving my body, and I must come and sit with him again. And that's not an uncommon story.
Right.
It is very, I don't know if I told you, but there was a couple of people that I was working with in recovery that had smoked for 20 years, 25 years, and I said, you got to help them, they want to stay sober and they want to stop smoking cigarettes. And your chances of staying sober when you're a hardcore drug addict is about 3%.
Yeah.
So let's really look at the odds. Here's my friends who were probably some of the worst junkies and crackheads you've ever seen, mainly because they had access to money. And so I said, can you do something, help them or whatever? And he had something in his hand, and he whacked one on the head and whacked one on the other head and said, don't do this anymore. Don't put poison in your body. And he laughed and they laughed. Well, here we are 4 years later, and they're both clean and sober. And they quit smoking, which is unheard of.
Right.
And, if you ask him, did he have anything to do with it? Of course he's going to say no, But if you ask them, they tell a different story.
Well, I have two problems to work on. I'm a sugar addict, and
Yeah.
so I eat sugar all the time, and
Yeah.
it's making me unhealthy and fat. And I have very bad pain in my jaw. So I'm
Yeah.
just going to tell you
Yeah.
that maybe we can do something about that, and I don't have to go to the doctor.
Of
That's
course.
good.
Of course. I will volunteer his healing powers.
Thank you for that. That's
Hey, Dr.
fabulous.
Lau. How are you?
Hi.
So yeah, there are all kinds of stories like that. You know, it's you know, as I said before, it really truly is like training, you know, for something like the Olympics. The difference is he's been doing this for 50 years. 50 years? Yeah, he's been doing this for 50 years, every day.
For hours.
And that day that he went to go bless all those people at that thing, I mean, look, we're going to finish this, and I'm going to need to go take a nap.
Right.
Okay? finishes blessing these people. He's been up since 5:36
Yeah,
in the morning.
yeah.
He goes and he gives a talk. He blesses all these people. He comes home. He tells me about it. And then goes in the room and starts up with his mantras and starts up with his prayers and starts up with his papers. And I'm in the other room, you know, watching Celebrity Apprentice
Yeah.
going, how is this possible?
It's
And by
amazing.
the way, he's 76.
74.
Oh, sorry. He's 74. I'm 43, and he's running circles around me.
Yeah.
You know,
That's amazing.
And I'm pumping myself full of vitamins and doing my yoga and doing my exercise, and he's running circles around me. So there is something that I wish I could explain.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep you guys much longer, but I do want to ask for some closing wisdom words.
Good. 장주 선주 림보체 마스케반 디기지 게바 냠바 메바 공나 공도 배워라쇼 장주 선주 림보체 마스케반 디기지 게바 냠바 공나 공도 배워라쇼 장주 선주 림보체 마스케반 게바 냠바 메바 공나 공도 배워라쇼 다시 계산 양자 예리 장불리 운나 림보탑을 어유 마밤 공부 좀 라디오들은 이거 따라와라 쇼.
And if you had one small piece of advice for anybody who would see this or read this, in a couple of sentences, what would your advice be to anybody?
Just learn how to live in the world with peace, love, compassion, enjoy yourself, respect others. Don't try to change the world, try to change yourself. That is
Perfect.
Wonderful.
And you said it was Om Mani Padme Om.
yeah.
Om Mani Padme Om.
Yeah. Om Mani Padme Hum, there are 6 syllables. There's one use, not 6 syllables in would say you free all 6 realms living beings and free them from the suffering, their own suffering and the cause of suffering, and help them to get in Amitabha Buddha paradise. Then you enjoy, you feel through your meditation all beings of 6 realms free from suffering and the cause of suffering, and I'm able to help them to get in the Amitabha Buddha paradise. Then you enjoy.
Amazing. The whole culture, the whole philosophy is about alleviating our suffering. I get up in the morning with my head on fire because of me and me and me and mine and mine, and I have to get this and I have to get this, and this guy gets up in the morning and is trying to alleviate our suffering.
By the
Thank
way,
you.
I wanted to ask about that because you pray so much to alleviate the suffering of others, and then of course you humbly take no credit when, you know, in quotes, miracles happen and people stop smoking, but you know that you are praying for those exact things to happen. What is the connection? How does it work? Does it work through spirit? Does it work through Buddha?
No, your own connection between you and other people who, according to Buddhism, we are all being each other many times, friend, enemy, stranger, mother, father, brother, sisters. So that connection we have, and you do some prayers, that helps because we all survive here because the kindness of others. Right?
We survive by the kindness of others.
We survive because of the kindness of others.
Other sentient being gives us a physical opportunity to come to in the world, have the body and mind. Then other people give the opportunity to have the other resources. No? So everything depends upon us. Therefore, then we say some prayer for them. It works, helps them.
He was saying, he explained to me that, because I didn't understand that concept, we survive by the kindness of others. He said, well, how did you come into this world? The woman let you grow and stay in her belly and gave you the food before she took food. Then you come out, very painful for her, but she protects you. She cleans you, she washes you, she feeds you, she nurtures you, she loves you, she takes care of you. Then your father works and goes out and provides for you, and then your teachers, and then your whatever religion you belong to, and then your community. So we survive on each other's kindness. And it was so beautiful.
What does sentient mean?
Sentient means living beings.
Living beings.
Living beings.
Sentient beings.
You know, what is it? I'm making the distinction between living beings and the sentient beings. Some, maybe the trees, the water, the mountains are living beings, not sentient beings. Sentient beings who have the mind, the consciousness.
Okay.
Those are called not sentient beings. Yeah, there's more.
And maybe just to clarify, because we were talking about several websites, where would you prefer people to donate money at this moment in time?
Whichever they prefer.
It just people can choose what
They can choose, okay.
really like to.
So
No,
okay.
some people like to support the monastery. That's good for the support the monastery. You get another future work the bank account you're opening.
Okay.
Then you those who interested have the children, then also you get another benefit from generosities. There's giving those opportunity to get the education. Then maybe have chances to bring change in the world as your kindness of your donation, changing their life. They get education, then they can change the world.
Okay.
Yeah, and all I want is for both. I mean, because I don't want him to have to travel so much anymore.
Yeah.
It's just it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I want him to be able to come here and relax.
Yeah.
And you know, the problem with a lot of times these people, they want to take him on a show and tell. They want to take him out and show him to all their friends and all this stuff, and it's got to get tiring, you know. Because I would say no. But he doesn't. He just goes and he does it, you know, for days and weeks and months at a time. And so I would prefer that people simply, if they can find it within their heart, to give to any of these two things, to help preserve this beautiful culture and to help this amazing man who's changed my life.
Yeah. Okay, baby. 2014.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. I'll be there.
Thank you.
Yeah, this long life, this one.